In the 8 months since its release, I've completed Expedition 33 5 times, in 3 different languages. After immersing myself in this magnificent symbolism-soaked world, I simply couldn't help but come up with an idea for a video. While you won't hear from me yet another gameplay breakdown or detailed plot explanation, today will definitely be interesting if you've already finished your own expedition, because we'll be talking about what people play story-driven games for, their endings. My name is May, you're listening to a voice from the Pale, and today we'll be reflecting on why the expedition doesn't have a canonical good ending, and why it shouldn't have one. Now there will be a brief story recap for those who didn't come after and haven't played the game itself, or have forgotten what happened in the plot. The main goal of expeditions in the world of Clair Obscur is to destroy the monolith and the paintress, its keeper who counts down the lifespan of every inhabitant of the ruined Lumiere. As the main character, Gustave, one of the volunteers, we embark on our final journey. Usually expeditions depart with those who have only 1 year of life left, but this time the protagonist is accompanied by his own choice by young Maëlle, who is his adopted daughter. Fighting their way through Navrons, local monsters aggressively hostile to all humans, and losing practically the entire squad except for a few key characters on the very first landing, the expedition barely reaches the monolith with the help of the best creature in this entire universe.
Bonjour, mes amis.
During the journey, Gustave inflicts irreparable trauma on every player and dies, replaced by Verso, with the whole truth about him and this world only revealed after defeating the paintress. It turns out that all this time Lumiere and everything else existed inside an artistic canvas created by Verso from the Descendre family, who died in a fire. This subspace, his childhood painting, has become in the present a fierce battleground between Verso's parents, Renoir and Aline Descendre. Members of this family possess magical abilities and can create entire pocket universes inside paintings using their chroma, creative magical energy. Aline, head of the artistic coven, unable to cope with losing her son in the real world, immersed herself in his childhood drawing and created an idealized version of her family there. Renoir, pursuing the expedition, is merely a projection, ruthlessly destroying everyone with a single goal: to protect the illusion drawn by the paintress. The real Renoir, who tried to tear his wife from the captivity of her own illusions, was imprisoned in the depths of the monolith. His resistance became the cause of the annual erasures of Lumiere's inhabitants. Aline spent more and more strength restraining her husband. After defeating the paintress, he becomes the game's final boss, embodying both the conflict between fathers and children and the harsh grip of reality and critique of escapism. A special tragedy unfolds around Alicia, the sister of the deceased Verso. Maimed in the real world by a fire caused by her accidental mistake, Alicia enters the canvas at her older sister's request, hoping to reconcile her parents and somehow fix the situation. But the painting takes control over her and rebirths her as Maëlle, temporarily taking away her memory. Even when the truth surfaces and her memories return, she can no longer support her father in his desire to destroy the canvas. Her attachment to this world becomes too strong, her new memories too precious. After defeating Renoir, Verso unexpectedly appears in her path, determined to finish the job and erase the painted world, denying Aline the ability to return to her endless illusion. And only the player's choice determines what the ending will be. If you take Maëlle's side, defeat and repaint her brother, we'll see a scene with a clear hint that Maëlle risks repeating her mother's fate in the future. And her attitude toward the free will of her painted brother turns out to be not much better than her mother's. If Verso wins the duel, before the credits, the game rewards us with a silent scene where the Descendre family finally says goodbye to him together, and the canvas is destroyed. Forever. Both endings are open and neither can claim the title of good, or even neutral, for obvious reasons. In Maëlle's case, the consequences of her prolonged stay in the painting will inevitably affect her psyche. Plus, her mother definitely knows the location of the canvas, hidden by the sisters, and can return to it at any moment, starting another war for chroma. However, returning to reality, Alicia risks living the rest of her life in eternal regret, about lost friends and a world where she had something truly valuable and meaningful, a life full of purpose, and the family she lacked. Contextually, the narrative seems to deliberately push us toward a binary perception of what's happening. There are strictly two endings to choose from. Inside the painting exists both the real Desandre family and the painted one, black and white. The same color palette of the main character's costumes and the last story battle in the narrative. A directly classical conflict between Mael's elevated youthful ideals and the harsh reality that Verso embodies. In general, dualism in all its glory. And seemingly as per genre conventions, dualism within the plot structure should imply an obviously good and obviously bad choice from the author's or plot's perspective, but the expedition breaks all stereotypes in this regard. I suspect you also had that dubious feeling when after the credits start in any ending, that feeling of satisfaction doesn't come, as usually happens with good games. Rather the opposite, you want to quickly reload a save and return to the painted world to go explore it to Esqui's cheerful
Here we go!
After all, where's the long-awaited reward for our efforts and victory over the final boss? Retribution for the character's suffering. But instead, on the platter of credits, only an oppressive aftertaste awaits us. Whether inside the canvas or in the real world by the Eiffel Tower, everywhere there's a sense of alienation and hopelessness. It starts to be acutely felt even in the scene after defeating the Paintress, when the expedition returns with good news back to Lumiere. The characters rejoice. Verso looks at the camera with Ryan Gosling's eyes from Blade Runner 2049. Everything seems fine, and as it should be. But even without knowing the ending of the story in advance, I directly remember how at that moment I watched and felt. Something here is clearly not right. This same feeling haunted me in the party members' personal quests. Practically every plot-significant character at least once thought about interrupting their suffering in one way or another. The entire painted, immortal family, except Renoir, ultimately strives for only one goal, to finally be unpainted back, and agrees to this at the first opportunity. And we must give the developers their due. I don't recall another work that would so masterfully convey the existential horror of existing as a character in someone else's story. The genius of Clair Obscur isn't in the genre stereotypical final sacrifice. The real sacrifice is the player themselves, or more precisely, our sense of comfort and the very nature of engagement with the story. The developers try with all their might to deprive us of balance, both gameplay-wise, through narrow parry windows, unpredictable boss fights with multi-phase transitions, permanent threat of character death and various debuffs, and, narratively, creating a fragile illusion of the hero's chosen status, which they cruelly destroy. Even the same Alan Wake, which tried to reveal a similar theme and was essentially a thriller, couldn't evoke similar emotions in me, to be honest. Because in the expedition, in the context of key characters, we're not just talking about the fate of prisoners or captives of the painting. At least the latter always have a ghostly hope of escape. Here we observe predetermined fates of literally living marionettes, painted beings possessing emotions and consciousness, but absolutely helpless before the author's will, capable only of passively observing their own fate. Ciel formulates this fundamental nightmare with absolute precision. She doesn't believe in a happy ending, but agrees to play by this world's rules. Her motivation is simple and terrifying simultaneously. She's driven forward by Mael's promise to resurrect her husband and give them some more precious moments of illusory happiness before the inevitable end. And without a massive change to the scenario and game world, a good ending here is fundamentally impossible, because Expedition 33 is existential horror embodied as a game. It's no accident that so many characters strive to end their lives in every possible way. The game doesn't give a direct answer, but as it seems to me from the narrative's tone, when Renoir shows us his wife suffering and says he doesn't want them and Mael to perish from prolonged stay inside the canvas, he's not touching on physical causes of death at all, but exclusively mental ones. Artists may possess superpowers, but they're still human, with fragile human psyches prone to errors, distortions, and emotions. Moreover, they retain memories of what happened inside the canvas, and can even restore their own after being reborn in it, as Mael did, meaning the artist's brain remains active throughout their stay inside the painting. And now, that very Clair Obscur in the title finally gains its true meaning, symbolizing and denoting the invisible boundary, the unnatural state between, in which both the painted world and its inhabitants are frozen, all entities inside the painting, both real ones, that is artists, and painted ones, gestrels, grandees, Lumiere's inhabitants, another Descendre family, and even the canvas's soul, that is, the image of little Verso, they're all literally trapped inside the canvas. Moreover, some of the painted characters in this world know exactly when they'll die, and how many years of life they have left. And I also want to draw your attention to the soundtrack. The compositions seem to reproduce a state of half-sleep, fragments of phrases, a guest motif, accents on key words, as if the music itself is trying to emphasize that state of stasis in which the canvas exists. And the same reaction of artists in the real world to interacting with the canvas looks like either petrification or paralysis. How can even one good ending in our understanding arise in a game that is nothing but the embodiment of everything the human psyche is fundamentally not adapted to? Therefore, a traditional good ending wouldn't just be inappropriate here, it would be a real betrayal by the scriptwriters, and would destroy the expedition's true message, the one that makes us feel deep existential cold when seeing the credits. Not to overcome it, just acknowledge it, look it in the eye, exactly at that moment when Verso challenges Mael, to feel the real price of authorial choice. Because in the expedition, this isn't just another difficult fate of yet another character. This is the suppressed guilt of a creator who realizes that the only way to convey their thought and emotions to the observer is to place them in a situation where any available solution will be wrong, any choice unfair, and the only possible victory awareness and acceptance of this unavoidable fact.